Konnan, did you watch wrestling matches for WWE?
Yes.
What wrestling matches did you see? Did you see the Smackdown show that has wrestling matches and the pay-per-view matches?
Yeah, I saw
Raw
everything.
that has the wrestling matches.
Yep.
Did you watch all of the wrestling matches?
Yep.
Did you fast forward through any of the wrestling matches?
Yeah, some of them. Yeah, the ones that didn't interest me or were too long.
Okay.
8 hours.
So let's start off. Let's start off with SmackDown. It starts off with Ronda and Shayna versus Shotzi and Natalya. Very long match, 13 minutes. Ronda and Shayna go over. They beat Shotzi with an armbar submission. I don't know. This was Ronda's first match back in a while, right?
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know the purpose of, it's not like, first off, they're putting Ronda and Shayna back together. So they kind of needed to look impressive in the first match back. And they basically went 13 minutes with a random tag team that was thrown together. And I don't know what the purpose was here, what they were trying to accomplish. What did you think of this?
Well, I thought it was very random, but I think what they're trying to do is get Shotzi over, which obviously she did the job, and use Natty in Canada, which she got a big pop both nights.
Right.
All the Canadians did, bro. That's why it's so weird when I watch.
For years, yeah.
That's what's so weird when I watch AEW and I see Pentagon wasn't on the show because somebody said Phoenix had a visa issue and he may have. Okay, well, Pentagon was there. Why wasn't he out there in the live crowd in Dynamite? They had him like in one of those secondary ancillary shows. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I think they had Natty there. But the problem with Natty is even though she still looks good and can go, bro, she just feels very stale because they've done terrible booking with it. They've done 50-50 booking, stop, push, go booking. And so you can never really take her seriously. And, you know what I'm saying? She just feels kind of stale to me. This was a very random team, but I'm assuming because they were in Canada, that's why Natty was there. I actually liked her when her and Tamina were a team, which Tamina seems to have disappeared again. She was very over. Here's the one thing I took away from this match. Did you hear when the people were chanting at Ronda, "You can't wrestle"?
No, I didn't hear that.
Okay, well, that chant was thrown out there during her match. And I actually think when you put her in a tag team match, you hide some of her limitations because she's still a work in progress and still green in a lot of ways. And she looked much better in a tag with Shayna because Shayna can actually go, And bro, please tell me that you saw the bump Ronda Rousey took on her head on the apron.
Yes, that was brutal.
That was great. I actually popped. Nothing.
I will say this about the crowd in Montreal. They are definitely kind of like a smart mark crowd.
Right.
And kind of and they look a lot like an AEW crowd. Like the one that they did, the crowd looked very similar to an AEW crowd, not your typical WWE crowd. That is my observation. You know what I mean by when I say that. The physical appearance of the people in the audience, I think, was pretty evident. So then Hit Row comes out and they cut a promo. And they go perform a song. Then the lights go off and the lights come on and the lights come off and Bray Wyatt's scene plays. The lights come on and Bray Wyatt's on one side of the ring and Uncle Howdy's on the other. And Bray removed his mask and Howdy punched Adonis and Wyatt put Top Dollar in the mandible claw before throwing over the top rope. Then Wyatt put Adonis in the mandible claw, and Wyatt shoved Adonis to Howdy, who put him down with his sister Abigail. You're welcome, Montreal, Wyatt said over the mic. Wyatt said now that he's in control of himself and in control of his family, he wanted to be the first to tell the fans something. He had a message for whoever walks out alive from the Brock Lesnar-Bobby Lashley match Elimination Chamber. You should run. And his logo appeared on the screen, then went black for a second. This is... the funny thing here is wrestling fans are kind of smart. We know nothing about Uncle Howdy. Right? They could literally be using just like a different guy each week and just put the costume on him. It's like this is there's been really no explanation what the frick this thing is.
Right, and I saw on Twitter, you know how the fans are always looking at every little thing. This guy had the Uncle Howdy dude. He had an earring that looked kind of like a cross, I think. And somebody was like, "Oh, those are the earrings Bo Dallas wears."
Right.
Also, Dollar Store and the gang, bro, they're just getting buried every week. Okay, they actually have heat because when he said "You're welcome, Montreal," they popped.
I know.
You should do something with them. So just annoying,
Right.
They do a good job of that. The sound wasn't good, so you couldn't understand when they were rapping. Really bad throughout most of the show when people were trying to do promos. But yeah, they just got buried again. Right before that or after that, they actually were hyping Charlotte as the grand judge or some the Daytona 500. And they showed a car that was sponsored by Guns N' Roses. Bro, that was sick.
Yeah. So let me get you, this is pretty funny. You want to hear Pal's point of view from this segment?
Which one?
Pal's point of
Dollar
view.
Store
No. This says this was after the women's match. Cole hyped Fox's coverage of the Daytona 500 and announced that Charlotte Flair would be an honorary race official. Then Pal's POV was, I have no clue what an honorary race official does, but the Guns N' Roses sponsored car looked pretty badass. That's Jason Powell observed that too.
It did.
Yeah.
It looks sick.
Okay, so
imagine how good it looked that he noticed it and I noticed it.
Imagine that, right?
They will be in San Diego, Konnan, beginning of October.
Okay, yeah.
Let me ask you a question, Konnan.
Maybe you want to see him.
No.
Let me ask you a question, Konnan. Are you interested in Uncle Howdy?
If it's Bo Leave, maybe. He doesn't interest me, bro. To tell you the truth,
the whole thing doesn't interest me. It's so stupid.
No, this Uncle Howdy thing, and it's been
this has gotten off the rails.
This
is a problem, bro. He was doing really good. I actually like when he does the Puppet Funhouse. That's pretty wild to me because he goes in between characters, a nice guy like Mr. Rogers, and then he's a monster, and he has no problem burying the puppets. But bro, same thing happened. He went off the rails with the Alexa Bliss thing and the goo coming out of the mouth and all that, and he's going off the rails again. This Howdy Doody thing, they're trying it. I think
it's funny invested, you call it Howdy Doody.
Here's the thing: they've invested so much time in this that when they finally figure out who it is, I don't think that he may get a big pop.
I don't think they're going to find out who
especially if it's Bo Dallas.
Right.
Well, why would you even know if it's Bo Dallas or not? The guy's wearing a mask. It's just like it looks like a Mark walking out there in a Halloween costume.
Right.
Is honestly what the whole gimmick.
Well, if they tell you who it is.
Yeah, if he pulls the mask off and it's Bo, but yet, I mean, Bo hasn't been on TV in 5-6 years. I mean, the smart side of the fans know it's Bray's brother, but does everybody know that?
Madcap Moss and Emma delivered a promo.
You know what this feels like to me, Glenn?
What?
Like they don't know how to get out of this, and they're kind of like. Remember how the Loomis Gargano thing was really hot at the beginning?
Going on and
then just kept going, and they couldn't fix it. And it was like, dude, just end it. How about that's how you fix it? You end.
Yeah. And so Madcap Moss and Emma delivered a promo from somewhere in the backstage area. And Moss said no one expected him to win last week. Emma said she did and said it was his time to shine. Moss dubbed himself a superstar. Okay. They showed Ariel Helwani on TV. Then a big long match between Drew and Sheamus against the Viking Raiders. This was just, I really got an issue with the direction of this company with Triple H. Bro, there's so many. I mean, if you're doing the long matches, people are going to lose interest. I mean, the data is pretty clear that this thing of like 15 to 13-minute matches of 15 seconds. This was 17 minutes. And it's like, what were they fighting for? Like the stakes are just like, okay, these guys are mad at each other, and you're giving them 17 minutes of a wrestling match the night before pay-per-view where matches are going to be 15, 17, 20 minutes long. To me, this is creative bankruptcy. It's like you have other guys in your roster that you need to get over that need more airtime, that need more mic time, like Madcap Moss and Emma, and like they had a 1-minute promo in the back, and then we followed up with 17-minute matches. Like you need to invest more time into character development and less time in these long-ass matches. That's the mistake that AEW made, is they invested in long matches, and here we are 3 years later, and not a lot of the people on that show are over enough to get people to watch their matches. So
here's the thing. Even though I like lucha-style matches like AEW does, I also like the way WWE does their matches, with a lot more logic. But I didn't think
they're more structured because they go into commercial breaks better with specific things and stuff. It's like it's more it's structured better for television.
AEW commercials they miss some crazy spots.
They just go to picture in picture.
Right.
In AEW, they don't even bother with the outs it's like you could tell they're not as nearly as structured as they are here.
Well,
it's a good match, but it's like I'm finding myself fast forwarding through this.
So. I didn't know it was that long. Down there, you say 17 minutes, or 13, or whatever it was. I was
17, like, wow. 17 minutes and 20 seconds.
Well, remember the other day when you asked me the difference between the strain of indica and sativa?
Mm-hmm.
So I sat down and watched this while I was on indica because when I'm high, I can watch and not get too.
You didn't go to sleep?
Impatient? No.
Right.
This was a really good physical matches you would expect because all four are physical, all four are good workers. But here's the good thing I liked about this match. There were a lot of times where it looked like the Viking Warriors were going to win. Like they gave them a tremendous rub here, and they stepped up to the plate. Good, good. Go ahead.
So next
too long though. You're right.
Yes. Next they showed Ray in the backstage area. They showed him exchanging masks with Santos Escobar. He was talking about respect, but was interrupted by Karrion Kross and Charlotte. Kross said he wanted to be a father until he saw the look of disgust in Dominic Mysterio's eyes that he has for Ray. And Kross said he doesn't have to hide his face in shame due to being a pathetic excuse for a father. But then again, that's just Scarlett's opinion, Kross said. And then Ray looked like he was mad, and Kevin got in his face and said, do something about it. So I like the fact that he's trying to bully him here. So that was a good backstage segment. I thought that's what
they have good chemistry.
Right.
They have good chemistry. Ray has grown as a performer because, speaking and acting was not his strong point, but he's really put a lot of time into it. I can attest to that personally. And it's paying off in him. And, Kevin, we've said it. He could be a actor in Hollywood right now, so they have good chemistry.
Right. So Liv Morgan made her entrance, and Carmella said it in commentary for this match, Asuka versus Liv Morgan. Rodriguez confronted Carmella at ringside, and Nikki Cross showed up and harassed Cole and took a seat on Barrett's lap. I am in big trouble when I get home, Barrett said. Morgan hit Asuka with a code breaker from the middle rope, and Cole mistakenly called it Oblivion. But Asuka kicked out, and late in the match, Morgan got a 2 count, and Asuka put her in another armbar submission for the win. There's 2 armbar submissions on the show for the win. After the match, Carmella put the boost to Asuka, and Cross took out Carmella, and then Rodriguez performed a Tahana Bomb, whatever that is, on Cross. And Rodriguez helped Morgan to her feet, then pointed up at the Elimination Chamber structure hanging above the ring, and Morgan hit a code breaker, which Cole called Oblivion again, but this time quickly corrected himself.
Yeah, that Tahana Bomb, isn't that like that power bomb where she holds him up in the air? And let me just say this because I forgot to say this. I was looking at Scarlett, and I'm thinking, why is she so much hotter than the other girls? You know why? Because she looks like a woman, like a sexy woman that will eat your ass up. Scarlett. Right. And most of these girls, they look like girls, nerds that are playing video games and you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. She just looks like a woman in a place full of girls. Let me just say this. Liv is mega hot. She's improved a lot, but she's not even half the worker Asuka is. Asuka did a really good job of making.
Well, she's a thigh slapper too, and with the way she works, it looks Liv Morgan, and the way she works, it looks it looks very phony. Like they don't cover it. They just I can't stand, bro. I can't help watching this every week, and there's so many people that are doing it even more now, and they're doing it very lazy, and I don't know what they're thinking.
Yeah, the camera's not going to catch it. The camera's going to somehow edit it.
You show me any combat sport, okay, where somebody with a leather boot kicks somebody in the stomach and it makes this sound. That's not going to happen. And they're literally doing it every time. Every time they're kicking somebody, they're smacking their thigh. Like if you kick him in the stomach, if you kick him.
Yeah, and here's the worst part. They don't even hide it. At least Shawn Michaels hit it. He did it. You couldn't barely see it. These guys are like.
You don't bring your arm up and down. You put your arm out to the side, and you just do when your leg is being the thing. You just do a very quick smack on your leg.
And you do it once, and the problem is that everybody does it 5 times a match. So by the time the show's over, you've seen it 30 times.
Right.
And it just looks. They should just say, hey, atrocious. They should actually have a rule.
They did like a year and a half ago. They said no more thigh slapping. Yeah, and then everybody just started doing it again anyway.
I think that looks absolutely brutal.
It does.
Carmella to me has the X factor. I'm just not into all these girls who are at ringside, the same girls that were in the Elimination Chamber. I'm just not into any single one of them except maybe Carmella. This it wasn't a bad match, but I wasn't really interested in anything going on.
So then they go back to Ariel Helwani as he checked in for the crowd again. Spoke about how it's been 30 years since the Canadians won the Stanley Cup. And he said Montreal is desperate for a win. He said they were 24 hours away from our guy Sami Zayn pulling off the impossible, and Helwani said they would celebrate like it's 1993 if Sami pulls it off. And the crowd popped for this too. So then Gunther was interviewed backstage, and he was not very happy that Moss was an opponent for him, and he did not have a lot of respect for Moss's ability to win this match. Would you agree with that?
Yep.
So then they wrestled, and Moss did not have much of a chance. He looked all right, but Gunther beat him in 10 minutes and 20 seconds. So that was, that was a foregone conclusion.
This is how you say this is a smart crowd. Bro, the whole Montreal crowd was with Gunther.
Right.
and it was kind of a squash.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't really give him much.
Right.
And why is he still being called Madcap? That's a brutal name, by the way.
It's atrocious. I don't know. Everybody's probably watched this, but Sammy came out, cut a promo. He cussed in Canadian. He got a big pop. I guess he says, yes, tabernacle or some French Canadian cuss word. I don't know what the hell it means. But he's just a hype interview for the match.
Well, tabernacle was a curse word for me in English. Nothing.
Yeah. But basically, he just said he's saying I'm going to pull off the biggest upset in WWE history. But the best thing about this was, the crowd was just going for this promo.
Yeah, this is great. So, yeah. This is what you want to see. This right. When you see this and you see people singing, he could have cut. He could have cut the most just a generic promo, and the crowd would have just like, let me tell you something. Tomorrow night, Roman Reigns, I'm going to whip your ass. And then the crowd would just want to pop. He didn't have to say much, and the people were just hyped in him. So they were going crazy. They were doing the Ole, which is kind of weird because that when he was El Generico, and he wasn't even on TV.
Right.
Then they were chanting Sammy. Then they were chanting You Deserve It. It looked like he was crying. It was very emotional. He did deserve it. He's done a great job to get where he is. Bro, and I love the part where, didn't he say something like that?
In French Canadian.
I thought he said it in English. But I did like when he goes, tomorrow night, it's Roman versus Sammy and the entire city of Montreal. Bro, that place just got lit. Great ending.
So it's good. Good hype promo for the match tomorrow, even though I didn't think it was going to win. But the show was all right. I'm not, bro.
But here's the great thing about this angle. Even though you didn't think he was going to win, there was still a chance he might. And that piqued your interest.
Right. Here's the thing, too, though. I want to go back to the match length, okay? Now, one thing they did do, and I know that match was 17 minutes long, but that was a good 4 weeks of build-up before that match. They'd been attacking each other or interviewing, the Viking Raiders and Drew and Sheamus had been built up. Right. And I'm just wondering if they think that, okay, every time we build up an angle, we need to give it a whole bunch of time on TV. When it's like, okay, well, the story of the match really isn't, necessary for 17 minutes. This thing could have been done in 10. I'm saying there's still a lot of characters on the show that need some time for character development, and I'm looking at the mistake that AEW makes. They're investing all the time in the matches. And I think you should shave some of that time and put another vignette in there for somebody that needs one and stuff. Take 2 minutes off a match here and there. You don't need a 15-minute match, a 17-minute match. A 13-minute match and a 15-minute match is just the same. And you could have put 2-minute vignettes in there for character development for characters that need it. So I don't know. To me, I'm be honest. They hit a good stride. The writing was good and everything. This week to me was kind of lazy booking for this show. I thought, in my opinion.
Well, they didn't have to do much. Everything was set up going into Elimination Chamber.
And you could tell that's what their attitude was.
Right.
That's what I'm
okay.
saying.
They've been putting out some good.
Right.
It wasn't bad.
So the next night, the same. No, I'm not saying anything was bad. I'm just saying there's a structure problem on timing. That's all I'm saying.
Bro, how many times have you heard me on my review say this match was too long?
Right.
A lot.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.